Some of the most famous words ever spoken are usually seen as, well, as rules for how to live your life. But what if they were something else entirely? Today, we're going to explore a pretty different interpretation. The idea that these teachings are actually a hidden map, a guide for a profound inner journey. So let's start right there with that central question. What if this whole path wasn't about getting to some destination after you die, but about discovering a hidden dimension of consciousness inside of you, right here, right now? I mean, if that's true, it completely reframes the entire purpose of the journey, doesn't it? And look, this idea isn't just speculation. It's anchored right in this foundational teaching: the kingdom of God is within you. That one sentence, it shifts the entire search away from the outside world and points it directly into our own inner landscape. So what exactly is this inner kingdom? Well, from this esoteric point of view, the kingdom isn't some paradise in the clouds. It's a state of divine consciousness, a higher awareness that's actually dormant inside every single one of us, just waiting to be awakened. So think of it less like a place you go and more like a profound state you experience. Okay, so how do we even start this journey? The first step, and let's be real, it's probably the hardest one, involves confronting the gatekeeper of our inner world, the ego, that limited, small sense of me. This right here, this shows just how radical this reframing is. The command to deny yourself always sounds so harsh, right? Like self-punishment or giving up everything that's fun. But in this context, it's about transcending the ego, that false identity we cling to, so we can discover our true higher self. The goal isn't to give up joy, it's to detach from the illusion that's causing our suffering. And this famous paradox, it builds on that exact same idea. It's not talking about physical life and death. The suggestion here is that by letting go of the ego-driven life, the life of constant wanting, fearing, and striving, we actually create the space to find our true eternal nature. And this leads us to the whole concept of being born again. From this inner perspective, it's not a one-time thing you sign up for. It's a profound act of spiritual alchemy. It's this process where you consciously die to your old programming and your old conditioning to allow a higher spiritual consciousness to literally be born within you. So if we're moving beyond the ego and we're looking for this inner rebirth, what are the actual tools for transformation? This is where we get into the active, almost alchemical work that's required on the path. Here are three huge keys to this inner work. Loving your enemies gets reimagined as this incredible tool to transmute negative energy into something higher. Becoming his children, that's a call to return to a state of pure, open receptivity, completely free from the ego's defenses. And taking up your cross, that's interpreted as willingly facing our own inner challenges and lessons, seeing them as part of the purification process. The parable of the sower explains perfectly why this work is so important. The divine truth, the seed, is available to all of us, but whether it can actually grow, that depends entirely on the state of our own consciousness, our inner soil. A mind full of distractions or a mind run by the ego, that's like rocky, thorny ground. The goal is to cultivate a pure, receptive heart, the good soil where wisdom can finally take root and flourish. All right, so once the inner ground is prepared and that alchemical work is underway, the journey starts to move toward its ultimate goal: direct spiritual perception, the big revelation. Now, this has to be one of the most mystical statements in all of the teachings. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. What on earth could that single eye possibly mean? So this single eye is seen as the spiritual eye, what many traditions call the third eye. It represents a unified, undivided consciousness. Just imagine for a second, your perception is no longer split between me versus you or good versus bad. In that state of total unity, an inner gateway opens, and divine light, or gnosis, true knowing, can just flood your entire being. In the absolute peak of this inner illumination, the culmination of the entire journey, it's captured in this incredibly profound declaration: I and the Father are one. And it's so important to get this right. In this context, the I isn't the ego, it's the awakened true self. And the Father, that represents the universal source, God, the absolute. So the statement becomes the ultimate realization. That feeling of separation we have from the divine, it's an illusion.
This is it. This is the achievement of non-dual awareness.
But what happens after a realization like that? Do you just pack it in and leave the world behind? Not at all. The final part of the journey is all about integrating this new consciousness into your everyday life. And this becomes the new guiding principle. The idea is that by putting your inner world first, by prioritizing that inner kingdom, everything in the outer world naturally begins to fall into place. It's a total shift in focus from chasing material things to finding deep spiritual alignment. And this quote, wow, it just perfectly summarizes the state of being that results from all this. You don't retreat from life, you participate in it fully, but your identity is no longer from it. You're anchored in a much deeper reality. So what does that look like in practice? It means you engage with your job, your family, your responsibilities, but without all that desperate attachment and fear that comes from the ego. You can live in the material world while staying free from its illusions, holding on to that core of divine awareness through it all. So let's just trace this incredible path one last time. It all begins with self-denial, not as punishment, but to transcend the ego. That leads to a spiritual rebirth, where we die to the old self. We use love and forgiveness to transmute lower energies, which leads to inner illumination by opening that single eye. And the entire journey culminates in surrender, which, paradoxically, is what leads to true liberation. And that brings us to a final thought, something to really reflect on. If you truly embraced the idea that your inner state of consciousness is your real home, and this outer world is just a place you're visiting, how would that change the way you navigate your day tomorrow?